Before we go to chapter 3, we'd like to do some review of chapter 2. Maybe today, if not next month. This chapter 2 has taken a long time for us to study because it in a way has almost all the important teachings of the Gita in the second chapter. Though it is called Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga, it also has the gist of Karma Yoga, and it also has hints on meditation, which will be dealt with in greater detail in the 6th chapter. Right now, where we are, 68th verse. This is a continuation of the all important topic of directing all aspects of our personality towards one goal in a concerted fashion. They must all act in concert, in harmony, in unison. Concert means when you go to a musical concert, there may be 60 to 100 or more than 100 musicians participating in that performance. In huge concerts, there will be more than 100 people sitting there on the stage. Everybody has an instrument or some part to play. Everybody has to act in perfect unison. Everybody should know when to do their part, and then no more and no less. Not a second before, not a second later. They all practice to perfection, and then they give the performance. That is called acting in concert. This human personality is like a concert. There are all these various instruments doing their part. If they all act in concert, in perfect unison, in harmony, each part knowing where to act, when to act, how to do, what to do its part, and just that and nothing more, nothing else, and all in the same direction for the same one common purpose or one common goal, then human life becomes a perfect symphony. Beauty, harmony, peace, joy will be there. But if all these different parts of our personality, sense organs, mind, pulling in different directions, each doing its own thing in its own way, without acting in concert or in unison, then there is no music. There is discord, disharmony, and pain and suffering. That is the message that Sri Krishna is conveying in this part. Beginning from almost 60th verse or so. A lot of verses are dedicated to this topic of making all the 11 sense organs act in unison, in harmony. 10 sense organs and the mind also is counted as a sense organ. You know that from 13th chapter. Indriyani dasha ekam cha. The 11th sense organ is the mind. For this purpose, we can think of the mind also as a sense organ. Like the other sense organs, which the mind supervises, it can also go in its own direction without considering what other sense organs are doing. I may be saying something, but my mind may be thinking something else. That is possible. Or I may be doing something in my hands, but my mind may be doing something else, not concentrating on what the hand is doing. It's possible. But all these 11 instruments have to be organized, coordinated, and made to act in harmony, in concert, in unison, to achieve one goal. We have to tell them, this is what we all want to do, we have to do it together, and each of you should not go in different directions. If a chariot is pulled by 4 horses, if the horses are well trained to obey the directions of the charioteer, then they all go in the same direction at the same pace. then the chariot moves nicely to the desired destination. If the horses are untrained, if every horse pulls in a different direction at a different pace, then the chariot, we don't know where it goes. Undesirable destinations, we end up there. This we studied in Kathopanishad. Sadashva iva sarate. Sadashva means well-trained horses. So these indriya, sense organs like horses, indriyani, ayana, huhu, all this we studied in Kathopanishad. In this body, mind, kshetra, these 11 horses are pulling this chariot. They must all be trained to pull together and go in the same direction at the same pace, obeying the direction of the buddhi, the chitta. That is what we are studying now. So it starts, we can go back a little bit and start from the 66th verse, but then we'll go through the remaining verses strictly. In these two verses, 62 and 63, verses 62, 63, Sri Krishna is graphically describing what happens to a person who lets the sense organs roam about at will freely anywhere they want to go without controlling them, without directing them properly. Imagine there is a steering car, person driving a car. Every moment he must be doing the steering work, every moment. Otherwise the car will go in some unwanted direction. But if the person doesn't steer the car, what happens to the car and the passenger? Painful destination. So that is the important point. So in the 62nd and 63rd verses, Sri Krishna nicely describes what will be the sequence of consequences of not directing these sense organs properly in the desired direction and not controlling them, directing them to act in harmony towards the same goal. Yayato vishayan vamsaha sangaha teshu upajayate. A series of steps are described. These are all the consequences of one relapse in the beginning. We make one mistake, and then it leads to something else, and if you don't control, then it leads to something else, and one thing leads to another. Finally, what happens? Last step is pranashyati, last word of the 63rd verse. So that those two shlokas contain, in a very succinct form, the whole psychology of desire and consequences. These two shlokas describe how desire arises in the first place in the human mind, and how, if it is not controlled and directed properly, how it will lead to undesirable, painful consequences. Series of things happen. So those two shlokas I would highly recommend that we study again and again and do reflection on it, manana. They are very important shlokas. So how does it all start? In a very innocuous fashion, in a very harmless fashion. Supposing I am sitting someplace and I am just freely letting my sense organs roam wherever they want. I will let the eye see whatever it wants, or let the mind think whatever it wants. So that's the starting point. Vishayan dhyayatah. So what does the mind do? The mind will alight upon some subject, and if it finds interesting, it will keep on thinking on that. Whether it is good for us or not, whether it's the proper subject to be thinking about or not at that time, it is pleasant, so we dwell on pleasant topics. Then I will not redirect it. No, that's not the, it may be pleasant, but that's not the right thing to be thinking about. Now, you must be thinking about this instead, though it may appear to be unpleasant. I don't tell that to the mind. quality mind roam and the sense organs roam at will. Jayato Vishayan, Vishya means sense objects. What is a sense object? What is a sense object? We come across the word Vishaya, sense object, many times in the Gita. What do they mean? Any of the senses, including the mind. That object may not be there, may be wholly imaginary. But the mind can create an object and dwell on it. It's called fantasy. A non-existent thing, the mind comes up with that fantasy and dwells on it because it is pleasant to do so. And that has nothing to do with reality. That is not only waste of mental energy and time, but it also leads to unwanted, painful consequences in a train, in a series of steps. That's why these two slokas are important. When we do that, when we let the mind roam at will and think about some object which it finds it pleasant, then what happens? Teshu sangaha upajayate. Teshu means what? Vishayeshu, in the sense objects. Whatever sense object I am thinking about, more and more my mind will become attached to that sense object. Attachment, attraction comes. Something like a sense object can be a person also. It may be a person. It can be an inanimate object. It can be some food. It can be a situation. It can be a place. It can be an event. It can be anything at all which the mind can think about. Sense organs can see. It can be near. It can be far away. Whatever. Any kind of sense object. If I let the mind dwell on it without examining whether it is the right thing to be dwelling on or not, then the mind will become attached to it. Teshu, in those sense objects, sangaha upajayate, attachment grows. Next, what is next step from attachment? Sangat kimbhavati, sangat sanjayate kamaha. That attachment, attraction, grows and becomes stronger. You don't want to think about anything. Sort of obsession develops. And that attachment results in a strong desire, becomes articulated in the mind as desire. When it becomes articulated in the mind, we call it desire. Attachment has come. Attachment, if not controlled, results in strong desire, kama. When we reach that stage of kama, desire comes, already we are in a no-win situation. You know how? You fulfill, you have two ways, two options when a desire comes. You can either fulfill it or you can deny it. Whatever you do, it will create trouble. If you fulfill it, what happens? You remember Yayati's story. More you fulfill, the stronger it becomes and demands more. To get the same degree of satisfaction, you need more of that same experience. That is called addiction. Today, if you take a little bit of this, you are satisfied, 1 cup. But if you make it a habit, tomorrow 1 cup won't be sufficient. I need 2 cups. Then it increases. Then I need 3 cups. Then it becomes a habit. Without it, I cannot live. So the mind will find it more and more interesting. That's how addiction becomes. They cannot stop. You don't know when to stop. That is the nature of the mind. Most of the cases, people who can control and go there. Yayati's story is very telling. That's what happens. The more he enjoyed, more appetite came. So Yayati, the king, comes to the conclusion that to try to quench the desires that arise in the mind by fulfilling them is as absurd an attempt as it is to quench the fire by putting ghee on it. Najata kamanam upabhogyena shamyate. Very insightful conclusion he comes to after enjoying for a long time all the pleasures that only a king can afford. He was a king. 1.5 lifetimes. Borrowed another youth from his son also. You know that story. Havisha Krishnavatmeva Bhuya Eva Vivartate, he tells his wife. I've enjoyed so much, more than any other human being can enjoy. With all the resources only a king can command. And even after that much of enjoyment, not only my desires have not gone away, they have become stronger. There is no end. That is the nature of the mind and sense organs. So we have to catch it right in the beginning, long before we reach the stage. When we reach the stage of kama, desire, you fulfill it, this is what happens. They become stronger and demand more. It becomes harder to control. Good desires, bad desires. It depends upon what kind of desire. Examine. When the desire comes, examine, and we know the criterion, how to distinguish good and bad desires, right? Do we know or not? So that is to be done. But if the desire is not something that is noble, if fulfilled, it does not ennoble, does not enrich, there is no redeeming value, it only takes us down, then no. We have to direct it in some other way. We have to sublimate it in some other way. Direct it to some other channel, that is all. The creative energy is there, desire is energy. That has to be channeled, otherwise if you bottle it up, it will be suppression, it won't work, it will come back in unguarded moments. So it has to be channeled in the proper direction. Otherwise what happens? This problem comes. Supposing you deny that. You deny that. You tell the mind, no, I'm not going to fulfill the desire. Then what happens? That obstructed desire may turn into anger. Kamat krodhot bhavati. From obstructed desire, unfulfilled desire, frustration and anger comes. Why do we become angry? Why do we become angry about somebody? I told you to finish this work last night before you go home at 5 o'clock. You said you would. Today in the morning you come back and you have not done it. I was counting on it. You become unhappy with your co-worker or at home with somebody because that expectation was not fulfilled. You expected somebody to do something or behave in such a way, that person didn't do it, your expectation was not fulfilled, you become angry. The unfulfilled desire may turn into anger. Then when the anger comes, it is even more difficult to control that. When we are under the spell of anger, sway of anger, we really become insane. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammoha means inability to think right, distinguish right from wrong. So under this sway of anger, we end up saying or doing things which we would not dream of saying and doing when we are not angry, in saner moments. When the anger passes, then we regret, well, did I yell and scream and break that and do that? But it has been said, it has been done. You can't go back in time and correct the action we did before. No matter how much try to repair it, then it only becomes worse. You say something really bad to someone, and then you to try to repair it, what happens is, the person may accept and understand or forgive on that. The person will become more angry. Very hard to repair it. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Anger robs us of our ability to think straight. We cannot tell right from wrong, and we have no control, and then we end up doing and saying wrong things, which will be hard to correct later. Sammoha smriti vibhramaha. Next step. Next step means loss of memory. We forget both kinds of things. We forget where we are, what is the situation, what I should be doing, what I should not be doing. We forget the time and place and proper behavior, and we do all kinds of things. When we are under the sway of anger, because we cannot think straight. Anger has robbed us of our sense of propriety, understanding, or memory. And we also, on this spell of anger, we also forget our spiritual inheritance. We forget that there is God within us. In the third chapter, Krishna is going to say, whenever we do any work, we have to be aware of the presence of the divine within me and within everybody concerned in that, connected in that work, in that situation. Adhyatma chetasa. Adhyatma means the divine presence within. Same divine presence in all that we know from other chapters in the Gita. That we forget. If I remember that God is present within me, within everyone, then I cannot do anything wrong. How can I? If I tell lies, then I'm telling lies to him. If I cheat you, then I'm cheating him. The same, he is present within me. That awareness prevents me. But that awareness will be lost, that memory will be lost. You don't remember any of these things. We may have studied the Gita and everything. But when the anger takes over, we forget all of that. Smriti Ramshat, Buddhinashaha. Thinking power is gone. Buddhinasha. Then what happens? Buddhinashat. Talk about it. But the good news is, there is a good news there. If you make any movement, you can only go in one direction, upwards. When you cannot go any below, any lower, then the only way you can go from there, if you move, you can go up. That is only the good part in reaching the rock bottom. In the Vivek Chudamani, Shankaracharya gives a nice example. What is that sloka? Lakshachyutam ched yajiti chittamishat. Look at the index under Lakshya. Lakshachyutam ched yajiti chittamishat. Imagine, it gives a nice imagery. There is a staircase. 18, 20 steps are there. On top of the staircase, there is a landing. First floor, second floor. The child is playing there, dribbling a ball, like the basketball players are doing. Can be a final set going on now, Celtics and Lakers. And then you, by mistake, if the child lets the ball go to the first step, one step below the landing, then the ball does not rise to the same level, rises to the less height, child cannot reach. Then when it falls again, it goes to the next lower step, and even rises to a less height, child is still standing there, cannot reach, the ball goes down and down. When does it downward movement stop? Until it continues until it reaches the floor, where it cannot go any more down, then it rests there, neutral, equally. No more movement. Then the child has to go down and retrieve it, or get up, get down all these steps and bring it back hard work. So that's what happens to the mind. If I don't watch constantly what the mind is doing, what the sense organs are doing, constantly keeping track of their movements, their activities, if I let them roam about freely without controlling, they will go from this topic, Gita I am thinking about, from here it will go to that topic, and I'm not watching. Let them go freely, and after 10 seconds I find myself thinking about something wholly unconnected. Then I wonder, how did I end up here? I thought I was talking about Gita, but how did I come here? All the intermediate steps through which the mind went, I'm not aware because I'm not watching. So the key is practice of constant awareness of our own movements, of our own mind and sense organs. What am I thinking about? What my sense organs are doing? Are these the right things to be thinking about? Or should I be doing something else? That constant checking, well, examination must be done. The moment it strays from the intended or desired object, desired thought, that very moment you have to bring it back. If I let it go, it will go from here to there to there to there, and then farther it goes, more difficult it is to bring it back. I don't even know how it went there, through what steps it has gone, I won't know, because I was not watching. Sloka 325, if you don't control the ball, it goes lower and lower and doesn't stop with downward. It gathers momentum, does not stop its downward movement until it reaches rock bottom. The mind is exactly like that. The more we allow it to go, harder it is to retrieve it and bring it back. That is explained in this Vivek Sudamani 325. Lakshat chitam ched yadi chittam ishat. Ishat means a little bit. Lakshat chiti. Laksha means the goal, what we are supposed to be thinking about or doing. Chuti means departure. If the mind and sense organs are allowed to depart from the desired thought or action, even by a little bit, that very moment we should be watching and bring it back. That is described in the 6th chapter of the Gita. We'll come to that. Ishat bahirmukam sannipate tatastataha. It goes in the external directions, wherever it wants to go. From there to there to there. Tatastataha. Pramadataha prachyuta kelikam dukaha. Pramada by mistake. By mistake, prachyuta means it is allowed to go. We lose control. Kelikam dukaha means the ball which side place. Sopana pankto patito vithata. Sopana pankti means the staircase. Series of steps. Patito vithata. In the same way, the mind is like that. The moment it departs, that moment you should tell gently, not becoming angry. Right? No, that's not the right thing to be thinking about now. Maybe later, some other time. That may be the right good subject to think about. But right now, the context is different. I should be thinking about this. Please come back. I should do it the moment it departs. If I let it go for some time, it will go farther away from the goal. That is explained in the which sloka in the Gita. Yato yato nisharati, 6th chapter, 26th verse. How to do this is explained in practical instruction on concentration. Chapter 6, verse 26. Yato yato nisharati manaha chanchalam astiram. As the unsteady, fickle mind digresses in whichever direction it goes from the intended thought, tatastataha, from all those digressions, niyamya, controlling it, atmani eva vasham nake. Bring it back and make it dwell on the desired outcome, thinking about Atman, the self, in meditation. Or it may be something you are studying for an exam, or some project you are working on, some design you are doing, some calculation you are doing. And we should be doing that. Mind must be on that completely. At that time, we should not be thinking about Bhagavad Gita or anything. Gita may be worthy object to think about, but at that moment, something else is given to the mind to perform that task. That has to be on that task. So that is the constant practice of constant watchfulness. Swakarmana tamabhyachya siddhim vinnati. All work that we are required to do, whether pleasant and unpleasant, I like it or I dislike it, there is no such thing. It is to be done, it is required to be done, I will do it as worship, as my loving offering to the divine. Nothing expected. Something comes, I will not deny it, I will not reject it, but I am not doing it to get glory or benefit. Out of love I am doing it. In an unselfish way, with great love, great sincerity, to do. That's all we have to do. And keep our mind on fixed on God. Sri Ramakrishna said the same thing, Sri Krishna said the same thing in the Gita. Same teaching everywhere. If we don't do that, what happens? If we don't concentrate on what we are doing, whether it is monastic work or meditation or puja or whatever it is, if we don't practice awareness of that, concentration on that, what we are doing, then the mind is allowed to go here and there, and one thing leads to another, and final step is buddhi nashat pranayati. We shouldn't allow that to happen. In his own case, Sri Ramakrishna, he himself says, he was able to give it up once by doing that. Within a few minutes, he said, I'm done with it. But it doesn't happen now. It happens as it happened in Niyati. If I fulfill it, I will not be able to get rid of it right away. As he said, Only once. That was a Rajasic way of dealing with that desire. He had the desire to smoke a hookah, gudguri, and then he desired to put on a shawl and a ring or some three things. Put it on for a few minutes, then he said, I'm done with it. I don't have any more desire. I got over it. This is all it means. You cannot do that with other desires. Supposing I'll marry for 10 minutes. One day, and then I'm done with it, I'll tell that person, no, I'm over. You go. It doesn't work. And that's a special case. We cannot emulate people like Sri Rama. They have their own methods to deal with that. We have to go in a more orthodox, traditional way of dealing with our desires. If we don't do that, then what happens? They will take us to unwanted destination. So we'll continue that. So the controlling of sense organs is a topic that we are discussing now. Let us go to which shloka we are discussing?
68.
68. So the Krishna is concluding the topic of the importance of controlling the mind and sense organs and making them all work in unison, in harmony towards one common desirable goal. We can do the same thing to do undesirable things. The robber can concentrate all his powers and do robbery. Concentration is there, but we have to choose a worthy goal, worthy action. Then that will be successful. Otherwise, it will be pain, consequence. So that is why Sri Krishna says in the 68th verse, Sthita Prajna. All this comes in the description of Sthita Prajna. The word Sthita Prajna we have to understand. Prajna means awareness or consciousness. Where is my consciousness right now? It is scattered. Generally, it is supposed to be here, but in between other thoughts also comes. A constant struggle for it. Tell me, mind now. Think about this. I don't want to worry about that right now. Like that. So my consciousness, ordinarily, when I'm not talking about Gita, my mind roams here and there, whatever I see in the street or in the plane, in the airport or somewhere. The thinking, I should not gather all those scattered energies of the mind and sense organs and direct them purposefully to one desirable goal. When a person is able to do that and succeeds in keeping his or her awareness constantly fixed on the self inside, on the Atman inside, such a person is called Sthita Prajna. Sthita means fixed, firm, fixed. Prajna means awareness. A person whose awareness is constantly fixed unwaveringly on the divine within, such a person is called Sthita Prajna. We rarely think about the divine. We think about the world more often. And even when we think about the divine for a certain meditation, so many intruding thoughts will come. But that person, by virtue of long practice and practice of spiritual disciplines, has succeeded in being able to be constantly aware of the presence of the divine within him or her and within everybody. One divine presence in all, that person is constantly aware of it. Such a person is a Sthita Prajna. Tasmad yasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvashah indriyani indriyartebhyah tasya prajna pratisthita. Therefore, in view of what was said so far, yasya indriyani indriyartebhyah sarvashah nigrihitani. A person whose sense organs are all controlled from their tendency to waver among sense objects and directed to one object in harmony, tasya prajna pratishtita. Such a person's awareness stays fixed on the self. This is what happens. If I don't think about all the necessary worldly thoughts, then no other thoughts to think about it. But excluding all worldly thoughts, then what is left? The self. Either it is the self or it is the world. Most of the time we are worried about the world, thinking about the world, what happened, what he is doing, what she is doing, what they are wearing, what they are driving, what they are eating, what they are speaking. So that's how our time goes. But if I stop all of those things, then what's the one remaining thing? The self. This Krita Prajna is a person who has acquired the ability to always remain unfailingly aware of the divine presence. When needed, you will think about the world very effectively because power of concentration is there. Otherwise, they are always aware. Even when they are doing worldly duties, they are aware of the self. Swami Brahmarupananda, Sri Ramakrishna's disciple, he said, a person who has this ability, we don't have it that much, a person who has this ability to always focus the energies of all the sense organs in the mind in a desired direction, such a person can manage all the worldly duties with a small fraction of the mind power. Major portion can be free from awareness, self, but we should not do that in the beginning unless we have that ability. And then we will not be able to either this or that. Either we concentrate on what we are doing, driving or doing something, or we concentrate on the divine. But we sit down separately for that. But these great advanced people, they can do both. We should not try to do that now because we won't be able to do it unless we have achieved that ability. With a fraction of their faculties, they can efficiently manage their worldly duties. He was the president of the order, Swami Brahmarupananda. That means all spiritual responsibility, instruction, everything was his. He was overseeing all of that. At the same time, he was able to keep his mind fixed on the self. At the same time. That is an advanced thing. That is possible. A person, yasya indriyani, sarvani indriyani, sarvashaha indriyarthebhyaha nigrihitani. Indriyartha means sense organs, sense objects, all kinds of sense objects. From those sense organs, a person whose sense organs are withdrawn and made to concentrate on the self, made to dwell there unwaveringly, tasya prajna pratishtita. That person's awareness is fixed on the self. That is the concluding part of that segment. What happens? We can control all the sense organs, acquire the ability to direct them wherever we want them to, on any topic, on any problem. The rishis had that ability. They were not always thinking about God and the self. Some of them were. Others were directing that energy to study other subjects. They were studying mathematics, chemistry, astronomy, medical science, everything they were studying with the same power of concentration. They were able to penetrate into the heart of any subject matter they chose to study. Even now, people practice that unknowingly. Most of the people do. But that is for a short time, for an exam or some project or something. They're able to exclude everything and think about it. But when that is done, then the mind goes back to its old habit of roaming everywhere. Now we go to the 69th verse. Remaining verses are not that difficult. Yanisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pasyato mune. If you take the literal meaning of this couplet, then all the night shift workers must be great yogis. When they are awake, other people are asleep. When other people are awake, they are asleep. They come and home and sleep at night during the day. At night they go to work. People working in hospitals and metro system, transportation and all other essential services, police and everybody. They are working at night. During the home they go home and sleep. Again night they have to go to work. That is not the intended meaning. That means those subjects to which a yogi is awake, considers important. To those subjects towards those we are asleep. We don't think about that as important. What is important to them is not important to us. What is important to us when we are those subjects which we are fully awake, paying attention to them, to those subjects they are asleep. They have no interest in it. That means spiritual pursuits as opposed to wholly worldly pursuits. We cannot exclude completely right now. We have to combine them harmoniously. We cannot give up worldly activity. That's not advisable. They are not saying that. Teachers like Buddha, Sri Ramakrishna said, follow the middle path. So we don't have to give up all our worldly activities and repair to the forest and live in the hermitage like some people used to do. We have to stay where we are, do our duties, and then at the same time, we have to keep our minds on the divine. Yanisha Sarabhutanam, that which is night to most of the people, general people, tasyam samyami javati, towards those subjects, those kinds of thoughts, activities, the yogi remains unconcerned. That's not his interest. Becoming famous and building a very big house, 27 stories, some $2 billion house, and acquiring this property, that, and all those things. Towards those things, they are indifferent. They are not interested. Many people are interested in those things. Yasyam jagrati bhutani. Those subjects, those preoccupations to which the worldly people are unconcerned, Sanisha, are very much concerned, Sanisha Pashyato Mani, towards those worldly pursuits and objects. The Muni, the Siddha Prajna, is uninterested. Our interests seem to be opposite. I'm interested in the world, he is interested in God. But we can't make that shift. It's not exclusive for us right now. For them it is. But we have to combine both aspects in our life harmoniously at the present time. We cannot do everything and go to forest. Pratap's brother tried to do that. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you have to go back. Get a job. Take care of your family. That man had sent his wife and children to father-in-law's house and he wanted to sit down and meditate in the temple. He said, no, that's not right. First of all, bring them back. Go get a job. Make some money. Take care of them. Do your duties to your family. And then at the same time, you meditate every day for some time. When all those duties are done, then you can meditate full time. So that harmony is required among all aspects of life in our lives right now. It is not an exclusive either this or that. It is both in some harmony. 70th verse. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudramapa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashantimapnoti na kamakami. Here gives the example of a ocean. Ocean is always full. What happens? So many rivers from different directions come and empty their waters, millions of cubic feet of water every minute, into the ocean. it absorbs, what is the ocean? It absorbs all of those incoming tide of flood of water, huge amounts of water flowing into it from every direction, every moment, day and night, absorbs everything and remains unaffected. That is the calmness, ability of the ocean to remain unaffected, no matter how many rivers come and empty their waters into the ocean. Apuryamanam achalapratishtam. Says here, a sea that is being filled as waters flow into it from all directions. Tadvat yam sarve kamaha pravishanti. Like that ocean which remains unaffected, no matter how many rivers from how many directions come and put their waters into it, this Sthita Prajna is like an ocean. His mind is like an ocean. Mind is there. So many things are coming at it. Thoughts are coming from every direction in the world. Everything is demanding our attention. We see people around us. They are all doing various things. This person sees all of that, but remains unaffected by it. We get upset over everything. Every small thing attracts our attention. Oh, I want to see that. Oh, why did she say like that? How did he say like? Why did he do like that? Everything, small thing comes and our mind becomes agitated. Our mind wants to go towards it or away from it. Attraction, repulsion. This Prajna's mind, no matter what happens, that person remains unaffected. Things are happening all around, same world. We are affected by every small thing. That person remains completely calm, no matter what happens to him or her or her. That ability to remain unaffected by the constant things happening in this world, that calmness like emotion, that ability that Sthita Prajna has. This example of rivers flowing into the ocean comes in several places. It comes in Mundaka Upanishad also. Yatha nadyaha sindamanaha samudre astam gachanti nama rupe vihaya tatha vidvan nama rupa vinuktaha ratvaram purusham upaiti devyam. Like this one mantra is slightly different context. Just like various rivers flowing in different directions, they go and merge into the sea and giving up their individual identities, names and forms, and become one with the ocean, become the ocean. In the same way, this seeker, this Sthita Prajna, who reaches the divine, like the river reaches the ocean. River becomes one with the ocean, does not remain separate anymore, any long. In Nama Rupa Vimuktaha, becomes free from the limitations and name and form and personality, becomes one with the divine. Again, it comes in the famous hymn called Shiva Mahimna Stotram. That one stanza from that hymn was quoted by Swami Vivekananda in his first lecture in the Parliament of World Religions in Chicago in September 1893. He said, people are seeking something in different directions. Some people do this to find happiness, some people do that to find happiness. Some people worship in this way, some people worship in that way. Some people call God by this name, some people think God is like that. Everybody is doing differently. But no matter how differently different people worship, they are worshipping the same divine through different names and forms and procedures. Mantras are different, rituals are different, books are different, languages are different. Yet, they are all seeking the same one divine goal, and you are that goal. Not limited to any of these forms, but you are that one goal towards which all seekers are converging, traveling in their own ways. Every path is different. Every religious tradition is different in its methodology, in its scripture, in its language, in its instructions and everything. But the goal of all of these seeking is the same divine. That is nicely expressed. The harmony of all the paths. The methods are different. They are all different. I cannot say that this is the same as that religion. But at the end, the goal, they all lead to the same. Traveling in different paths. That he mentioned, he translated that verse into English and quoted that in his lecture here in 1898. That verse goes like this. Trayi Sankhyam Yoga Pashupati Madam Vaishnavamiti Pravinne Prasthane Paramidamada Patyamiti Cha Uchina Maichitya Drujukutilana Patajusham Runame Kogamya Swamasi Paya Samarnavaiva. Beautiful verse from the Shiva Mahimna Stotra. Made it famous. It says, Trayi Sankhya Yogaha Pashupati Matam Vaishnavamiti. So many different paths are there. Even within the umbrella of Hinduism, there is Yoga, there is Sankhya, there is Vaishnava, there is Pashupata, there is Shaiva, there is Shakta, and so many other things. And then other traditions are there. Then, Paramidamada Patyamitija, Pravinne Prasthane. To reach Prasthana means that journey to the divine in different directions. Pravinne Prasthane, Paramidamada Patyamiti. Lot of discussion. This path is better, that path is better, my religion is different, your religion. Like this, people are discussing simply about this religion, that religion, everything. That path, this path, everything. However, Ruchina Vaichidyat, because of their inclinations, tendencies, abilities to needs are all different from person to person. Each person worships in a different way, suiting his or her needs, situation, background, everything. Method of worships are different. Ruchina Maichityat, Ruju Kutila Nana Patajusham. Ruju means straight, Kutila means not straight, circuitous. Some Vedic rishis of the olden times, they went to the shortest course. No digressions, no scenic route. What did they do? Sri Ramakrishna describes in the Gospel. Every morning they would wake up early in the morning, before sunrise, go to some remote area, sit down under a tree and meditate on the self all day. No worldly thought, no digression, no this, no that. No, every half hour we have to drink tea or coke and talk to somebody and then cell phone or something. No such thing. All day we would meditate on the self. After sunset or at sunset, they would go back to their hermitage, eat some simple roots or fruits, whatever was available, catch some sleep, next morning go. Direct route. No digressions, no prasad, no puja, no chanting, no mantra, no pilgrimage, nothing. But we are chosen a scenic route. Little bit slow. Now we have to go on pilgrimage, we have to do some puja, we have to get some prasad. After class we have to have some lunch, before class we have to have some happy hour, tea and samosa, all those things. Now and then a little bit study of scriptures, some puja, some meditation, also going to work and taking care of family. This is our path. We cannot duplicate that. Yes, they are not saying we should all do that, not possible. But there are different paths. They are also seeking something. We are also seeking something in our own way. We have chosen the scenic road a little bit longer, but this also takes us to the same goal. Maybe it takes a little bit longer. That's okay for us. Runam eko gamya tomasi. You are the only goal towards which all of these people are converging, at each at his own pace, her own pace. following is an old path. Payasi Payasam Arnama Eva. Tomasi Payasam Arnama. Arnava means ocean. Payas means what? Waters flowing in different rivers. Some rivers are a little bit straight, course is straight. Some rivers go every which way, make U-turn and go back. Rivers are not all straight paths. They go in different directions. But eventually, just like all the rivers end up and merge in the ocean, become one with the one ocean is the same. In the same way, all these seekers traveling in different directions, some straight path like those rishis, and some circuitous path like we have chosen easier scenic path. All of us, all of them will eventually reach the same goal. Tomasi Payasam Arnama Iva. You are that one goal, divine. People may think of you in different ways, give you different names, give you different forms, whatever. But that divine is the same. That harmony of all these religious paths, they are all different paths. But eventually they converge. And the divine is the only goal. No matter how we conceive of it and worship it. That beautiful sense of harmony of all the paths is one of the things that our scriptures emphasize, our rishis have emphasized. So there is no need to fight. Let every person choose the path that fits that person. Our needs are different. Our temperaments are different. Our abilities are different. Our situations are different. We cannot say everybody should do this one thing. That won't work. Give them the freedom. Whatever is convenient, appropriate for you, you follow that one. But the goal is the same. That is the verse. So everywhere, the ocean and the rivers image comes in our scriptures. So the mind of the yogi is like the ocean. No matter how many rivers come and pour their waters into the ocean absorbs everything, remains unperturbed. As opposed to an ordinary person's mind, any small temptation, any small provocation becomes angry. Why did you say that one? Why did you like that one? That calmness, inward calmness, ability to remain unperturbed by whatever happens around. That ability, sthita prajna. You should be like that. If we are affected by every small thing that happens, then there is no peace. It shouldn't be like that. Nice verse, 70. We'll do 71. Vihaya kamanya sarvan Umam charati nisprihaha Nirmamo nirahankaraha Sashantimadhigacchati Sarvan kaman yaha puman vihaya nisprihaha charati. Nisprihaha means free from the affliction of desires. Desires are kind of afflictions. Even good desires in the long run. In the beginning they are good. But then if a person has a desire to know God, that means he has not known God yet. Perfection is not reached yet. But that is in the beginning it is a good desire. We should have that. Yaha Purushaha Kuman Sarvan Kaman Vihaya, giving up all desires, unaffected by all the desires, Nispraha, free from hankering, Charati, does his business. Charati means moves, does worldly duties. He may also go to work and take care of the family, but his mind is unaffected by all the things that are happening. So many thoughts may come, so many temptations may come, but like the ocean, no, I'm not going to be disturbed by that, affected by it. Let things happen. The world is always full of things. Always things are happening. We can't stop the world. But we have to keep ourselves, we have to remain unaffected. Nirmamo nirahankara. That comes in many places. Nirmamo means the idea of mind. Mama means mind. What is mind? A person who has a narrow way of thinking, that person is constantly making the distinction, this is mine, this is not mine. Udara charitanam tu vasudaiva kutambakam. Ayam mama parova iti gananatu alpachetasam. Alpachetas means person whose thinking is narrow. Narrow thinking. Such a person, I am mama parova. Oh, this person is mine, I should help him. Favoritism in job or work someplace. He is a Paro, he is a different person, speaks different language. So it's okay, he is overlooked. Like this, some people think, I am mama Parova. Always distinguishing, this is mine, this is my favorite. One way of treating this. That's not mine, another way of treating that. But yogi does not do that. Atma upamyena sarvatra sukhamaidiva dukkham ayogi paramo mata. Treating everybody alike as one would like to be treated oneself. If you want to be respected and loved, then I have to respect and love everybody. I cannot make one standard for me and another standard for you. Atma upamyena sarvatra. As myself, if something causes me pain, I should not do that to you. You also it causes pain. Like that. Sukham va, ediva, dukham, whether in happiness or unhappiness. Sayogi paramo mataha. Yogi. Here, sarvan nirmamo. Idea of mind, if you examine, there is no such thing as mind at all. You examine it, think about it for quite some time, at depth. What is mind, you ask, and pursue that question. You will be surprised to discover there is nothing that you can call mind. Everything I have is given to me by somebody, controlled by somebody, taken away by somebody. Is the body mine? How much control I have over the body? What happens in the body, what's going to happen, how long it will last, and in what condition it will stay, how much control I have over that one. And I say my body, I, myself, mine. Think about this concept of mind. It's very interesting to pursue that thought by yourself when you're a little bit free. You'll be surprised. There's practically nothing that we can call mind. So, how much control I have, how long it will stay, or in what condition it will stay, nothing. So, nirmamo, nirahankaraha, I and mine. Ankara means two ways we can understand. One meaning is egoism, I, that feeling. The second meaning is, where is that I? Go deeper. If you look for the I, Sri Ramakrishna says, only he emerges.
Yes, that's true.
You going into a cave, looking for something. You went inside the cave to look for something. When you came out, you found something else. You didn't find the thing you were looking for. So the cave of the heart, if you go and search for the I, where is the I? When you come out, you will find that only he is. There is no I. But it creates so much trouble. Ahankara means separation from the ego. I am separate from that feeling itself is ahankara. Then it gives rise to other things, other aspects, problems like ego. Pride, this is mine, that is not mine, this is mine. Nirmamo nirahankaraha saha shantim adhigacchati. Such a person who is free from all such limited thinking, that person achieves lasting peace. Paramam shantim adhigacchati. Supreme peace, lasting peace, unconditional peace, peace that we cannot understand, peace that passes understand. Our peace is just the temporary absence of some problem. If nobody is bothering us, if I am feeling relatively well, no money problem or job problem for the time being, for today I am peaceful. Tomorrow what happens, I don't know. There is no permanency. There is nothing you can depend upon in this world. Such a person who remains unaffected by these changes. Nirmamo nirahamkaraha sarvan kaman vihaya umam nispraha charati. Unperturbed by all these desires and the other consequences that will follow, just goes about his life calmly. Such a person achieves peace. We should achieve that stability. If we remain vulnerable to every single provocation, one word of praise here, a word of compliment there, a word of something uncharitable comment there, if you are so sensitive and react to every one of those, there is no peace. Mind is always jumping up and down. Let us do the last one. Esha brahmi sthiti partha.
Esha brahmi sthiti partha.
Nainam prapya vimuhyati.
Nainam prapya vimuhyati.
Sthitva syamantakaalepi.
Sthitva syamantakaalepi.
Brahma nirvana mrichati.
Brahma nirvana mrichati.
Esha brahmi sthitihi. This is the status of Brahma Jnana. Full and constant awareness of the divine self within us. Being established in it. Nothing that happens in the world can disturb this person. Sthiti. This state of consciousness. Enam sthitim prapya navimukhyati. Once it is reached by struggle, various kinds of spiritual practices, whatever is appropriate to us, once it is achieved, then it will be there. It cannot be lost. Nainam prapya vimuhyati. Attaining it, none gets deluded anymore. Asyam stitau antakalepi sthitva. Even in the last part of our life, if we can get a glimpse of that divine consciousness, Brahma Nirvanam Richati, one gains supreme super consciousness in one. If it happens earlier, it is most wonderful. But if we keep on struggling, I'll tell them, it's already time. I want to tell a short story, real story, of event that happened. Divine grace can come to us any moment. We have to keep our hearts open. We have to be ready. We should not resist. We have to lead our life in a simple way, with devotion, do our work, keep our minds on God. Nothing great to be done. Don't need to go to forest and now. Do our duties as worship. Remember Him as often as possible in our own way. Keep praying for His grace, His simple devotion.